Nebula Hypothesis. This theory, initial for this theory, many arguments were given about this, but later German philosopher Immanuel Kant, mathematician, he was a mathematician. So this person has revised in year 1796, and according to this, that this hypothesis considered that planets were formed out of a cloud material associated with a sun, and which was slowly rotating. And then later what happened, he just understood that this cloud material may be giving a self-gravity. It produces by a self-gravity and contracts the cloud material. So it goes on contracting the cloud material, and then it conserves an angular momentum, and then it pulls towards a disc-like shape. So this was observed. Later this disc begins to rotate, and then the central mass forms like a proto-sun. Then what will happen? This will act like a sun, and total disc-like shape cloud will be formed. And thereafter, a centrifugal force will be formed that balances the gravitational force, and again the forces will form a ring pattern, and this ring later will turn into a planet. So this was said by German philosopher Immanuel. And then what happened, later he discussed about different kinds of hypotheses here. The temperature increases as nebula collapses, rotation increased with the temperature, nebula eventually flattens into a disk. As the sun was forming in the center of the nebula, dust particles in the outer regions combined to form planetesimals a few kilometers across. So this is what the changing pattern of the nebulary hypothesis, and then planets will be formed. This is what now we can see the advanced planetarium system, and again it is otherwise called as planetesimals. Planetesimals means here formation of a sun and then formation of the planets and revolving by their own force. And later what happened in 19th century, we can say in a 19th century, we observed this planetesimal hypothesis. According to this, what is the thing here? Two persons, Chamberlain and Moulton, considered that the wandering star approached the sun, and then Sir James and Jeans and later Sir Harold Jeffrey supported this argument. And at a later date, the arguments considered of a companion of the sun to have been coexisting. That means here a sun has been coexisting within the thing. And later date, the arguments considered of a companion to the sun. And in 1950, after the 19th century, that means 1950, Otto Schmidt in Russia and Karl Wiesacker in Germany somewhat revised the nebular hypothesis. Then they given a theory called as a binary theories. That means here companion of a sun. That means here sun and the companion of the sun in the planetesimal hypothesis. That means sun and companion of sun means what here? Earlier a planet and a sun. So this is what they have given. Later one more theory has come into the thing. So as I said, Otto Schmidt in Russia and Karl Wiesacker in Germany. This person's revised again the nebular hypothesis. Then they given the Big Bang theory. So this is otherwise called as expansion or expanding universe theory or expanding universe hypothesis here, and this was given by Edwin Hubble. We might have seen already Hubble telescope. Understood. So this theory says about the singularity. So what is the singularity means here? Everything in the universe emerged from a single point, known as a singularity. That means about 15 billion years ago, later on this point expanded inside its galaxies, move apart due to empty space between them expanded. That means here a small approach was made. Later this approach was expanded. So this is what the expansion theory here it says. And all matter in the universe was created at one instant of fixed moment of time. A single fireball like this what we are seeing here, a single fireball along with the wispy clouds were exploded and formed into cluster of galaxies. These are galaxies which exploded to form stars, and stars exploded to form into very big planets. That means these clouds exploded to form galaxies, and after that these galaxies turn into stars, then to planets. So this was given. So what is that after formation of planets? Then solar system only. So in the solar system we can consider that planets have been already emerged. So nearly we have different types of planets also: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So these planets are emerged, and the solar system comprises of the sun, and this was formed by condensation of gases and lesser bodies, and the planets are around the sun in an elliptical orbits. So what we can conclude is that solar system comprises of the sun and 8 planets, which are believed to have developed from the condensation of gases and of lesser bodies, and this all planets revolve around the sun in the elliptical orbits. Alternatively, the first 4 planets are called as terrestrial. So what are these terrestrial here? That means Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. So these are called as terrestrial bodies. Why? Because it is made up of rock or soil. So those are called as terrestrial planets. That means here they are otherwise called as Earth-like, and they are made up of rock or metals which have high densities. Understood? The rest 4 are called as Jovian. So why Jovian? They are filled with gases. And these gas-filled planets are very larger than the terrestrial planets. Because of this, they appear as very, very giant planets. And the next, Jovian means it is like a Jupiter or Jovian. And most of them are very larger than terrestrial planets and have very, very thick atmosphere. Mostly helium and hydrogen only it will be filled. And till August 2006, Pluto was considered as a planet. However, in a meeting of International Astronomical Union, a decision was taken that Pluto, like other celestial objects discovered in recent past, may be called as dwarf planet. The 8 bodies of officially categorized are planets and are classified into many ways. So first 4 are called as terrestrial, that means they are Earth-like. And the next one it is called as Jovian. Jovian means Jupiter. That means they are largely composed of thick atmosphere, maximum with helium and hydrogen. So this is what we discussed now, topics. And the composition here, the terrestrial or rocky planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. The terrestrial planets are composed primarily of rock, metal and of high densities, and they have slow rotation, solid surfaces, no rings, and few satellites will be there like moon. But in case of Jovian or gas planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, the gas planets are composed largely of hydrogen and helium, and they have low densities, rapid rotation, deep atmospheres and lots of satellites. By the composition it differs, and with size it depends upon the small planets. That means Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, they are small planets that have the diameter of only 13,000 km or less than that. But giant planets, Jovian planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, these can cover larger than 48,000 kilometers. So that they are called as giant planets, since they are filled with gases. And by position relating to the sun, there are inner planets and outer planets. Inner planets means here Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. Outer planets means here Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So this differentiation will be given by inner planets and outer planets by a belt called as Asteroid Belt. So this asteroid belt will divide inner planets and outer planets. Inner planets are 4, outer planets are 4 by a belt called as asteroid belt. Then what is meant by Kuiper belt? So Kuiper belt means here we can call it as also Kuiper Edgeworth belt. This is an area outside the solar system. This is the area outside the solar system. So what does it mean here? It is stretched about nearly 20 astronomical units in space and also contains mostly ice pieces, and these contains methane, ammonia, nitrogen, water, and this is also a home for, that means this Kuiper belt is also a home for many dwarf planets like Pluto, next one Haumea, next Makemake. Next Kuiper Edgeworth belt is named after an astronomer called as Gerard Kuiper, and this extends from roughly Neptune to Sun, from the Sun. The distance between that is from Sun to Neptune, that much distance will be there. And one more thing is about Oort cloud. This is what the Kuiper belt, you can see outside the solar system. Even Neptune also will be in this, and all dwarf planets. These are all dwarf planets. Next we discuss about Oort cloud. There is a cloud named Oort cloud. So what is that? OORT, Oort cloud or Oort cloud. So this is the icy objects. It consists of icy objects and exists nearly outermost of solar system, and it is named after Jan Oort. First this person hypothesized about the existence of this, and this is roughly spherical. This cloud will be roughly spherical, and then origin is among very long periods. The origin is about from very periods, even very older than that. And the objects in the Oort cloud are also referred to as trans-Neptunian objects. Trans-Neptunian objects. The name also applies to objects in Kuiper belt, even in Kuiper belt also. And we discuss about Korolev crater, how it formed. It's most important. Korolev crater. You just observe the formation of the crater. It is a depression formed on the moon or planets where a depressed body will be formed. That means here a small part of area or a large part of area will just be formed with a depressed area. That means here the first time European Space Agency of Mars expresses mission has discovered by an icy crater on Mars planet, first on icy crater on Mars planet, and named it as Korolev crater. That means this was located by Mars Express mission near the North Pole of the red planet. That means Mars, this is the Mars, near the North Pole of that it was located, and the planet is filled with a mound of water of about 60 kilometers, and it nearly has 2 kilometer thickness. Range is 60 kilometers and thickness is 2 kilometers, and the water is a permanent ice feature. It was nearly an ice feature, and it has anticipated that the crater traps these layer of cold air that prevents the ice melting even during the 6-month long northern summer on Mars, making this a year-long winter wonderland. That means 6 months melting of ice, 6 months formation of ice. This is otherwise called as a year-long winter wonderland. A year-long winter wonderland. And what is its significance is that, so we discussed about this. The significance is that the water on Mars planet has long been debated the existence of the life on Mars. Further existence of huge reservoir of the water will give thirst to it. That means, to till date, there is no proof has been found as a part or present life on the Mars. But cumulative evidences shows that during ancient Noachian time period, the surface environment of Mars had liquid water and may have been habitable for many microorganisms like amoeba, paramecium. Different kinds of organisms were have been existed. Although the existence of habitable conditions does not necessarily indicate the presence of life. These are what the craters which formed on the surfaces of the planets. These are like depressions, may be formed without ice or soil or an explosive of a rock material. vIjAyS Darshan, minimum time, maximum marks. Fit to IAS, survive in IAS, we must always be ahead. Subscribe now, share now, like now.